Walking across the meat aisle in any supermarket, you've probably seen those neat rows of deli meats perfectly sliced, sealed in glossy packs promising words like slow-roasted premium or natural. Deli meat was meant to be simple, seasoned cuts, cured gently sliced thin for convenience and comfort. It should taste like care, not chemistry. However, that's only half the truth. In some cases, not even half. Behind the familiar shine lie shortcuts, water injections, chemical preservatives, artificial smoke, and color that hides fatigue. What once came from the butcher's craft now often comes from an assembly line of compromise. Meat remains one of the most essential sources of protein on every dining table, and we know you want to choose safely for your family. That's why in this video we'll reveal 5 deli meat brands to avoid and 2 that still deserve your trust to help you prepare better and protect what truly matters.
Nearly 19,000 pounds of different types of meat have been recalled by Smith Packing here in Utica.
It includes ready-to-eat sausage, sliced deli meat, and poultry products, according to the USDA.
One Smith Packing. In April this year, Smith Packing quietly recalled more than 18,000 pounds of its ready-to-eat deli meats. The reason wasn't bacteria or spoilage, it was chemistry. Tests found dangerously high levels of sodium nitrite, the same compound used to keep processed meat pink and fresh. In this case, it went far beyond what the body can safely handle. When you open one of those packs, you notice it right away. The slices gleam unnaturally wet, each one clinging to the next like plastic film. There's no fragrance of meat, only a faint metallic scent, clean but wrong. When it hits a pan, the sound isn't a sizzle, it's a hiss as trapped water and brine escape. Within seconds, the slice curls, shrinks, and nearly disappears. What looked generous a moment ago becomes a thin, dry scrap, leaving behind a puddle of grayish liquid. That's not just water, it's the industry's secret shortcut. Brine injection, a process that floods meat with a mix of water, salt, and preservatives, makes each pack heavier, softer, and longer lasting. To the eye, it feels like value. To the factory, it means higher yield. But nutritionally, it's dilution disguised as abundance. You're paying for moisture, not muscle. Sodium nitrite plays another role. It gives that trademark blush, the pink, that consumers associate with freshness. Yet overuse can turn that color into danger. High levels of nitrite can interfere with the blood's ability to carry oxygen, leading to fatigue, dizziness, or worse. It's rare, but the risk grows when companies chase uniform color instead of honest quality. Meanwhile, longtime customers began noticing changes long before the recall. "Too salty," one wrote in a food forum. "Tastes chemical, like I'm licking the wrapper," said another. Dozens mentioned the same thing. Slimy, texture-pooling liquid smelled off even before the date. None of it sounded like the meat they remembered. The company's apology came in a few dry sentences: regulatory compliance, voluntary action, quality review. But behind that language was something harder to quantify: trust lost slice by slice. Deli meat was once the everyday luxury of American households, a symbol of convenience that didn't compromise flavor. Now, even a familiar package can carry the quiet fatigue of an overworked system, factories chasing speed labels, chasing reassurance. You can't fake the sound of real meat cooking. It pops, it browns, it fills the kitchen with life. The industrial version whispers instead, wet, sterile, and gone too soon. By contrast, that absence tells you everything. What weighs more on the scale may weigh less in truth. Because the real measure of food isn't its heft or hue, it's the honesty behind every slice. If water and chemicals can fool the scale, imagine what's hiding in brands we once called premium. To Boar's Head. More than a year after Smith Packing's chemical recall, another name surfaced: Boar's Head. But hidden behind that familiar logo was a much different story. This time, the problem wasn't what they added to the meat. It was what had begun to grow inside the walls of trust. In July 2024, federal inspectors walked through Boar's Head's Jarrett, Virginia plant and found what no one expected from a gold standard brand: black mold climbing tiles, mildew staining ceilings, insects nesting near machinery, and drains testing positive for Listeria monocytogenes. The discovery led to the recall of more than 7 million pounds of meat, turkey, ham, roast beef, all produced in what was once considered one of the cleanest facilities in the business. Listeria isn't a dramatic threat you can see or smell. It's a quiet invader, a bacterium that thrives in cold, damp places where most others die. It can cling to stainless steel, survive refrigeration, and spread invisibly from surface to surface. In healthy adults, it may cause only mild illness, but for older people, pregnant women, or those with weaker immune systems, it can be deadly. And that's what makes it so deceptive. It hides where the world looks clean. That contradiction defines this case. For decades, Boar's Head built its reputation on sterility and sophistication, black and gold packaging, polished deli counters, slogans about craftsmanship and purity. The brand became shorthand for trust. People didn't read the label, they simply asked, "Is it Boar's Head?" and believed the answer was enough. Yet inside that same promise, inspectors described condensation dripping from rafters, stagnant water beneath slicers, and air ducts coated in residue. It's hard to picture those images beside the sleek commercials showing fresh cuts arranged like jewelry. The disconnect isn't just visual, it's moral. A brand that spoke of handcrafted care since 1905 had allowed the smallest enemy to thrive in silence. By contrast, the recall notice arrived sterile and corporate. No mention of mold, no apology for neglect, just procedural language. Out of an abundance of caution. For consumers who had paid more, believing that higher price meant higher standards, it felt like betrayal dressed in etiquette. One longtime deli owner from New Jersey summed it up online. "We used to brag about carrying Boar's Head. Now people ask if it's safe. The lesson isn't that every famous brand hides decay. It's that prestige ages faster than purity. Cleanliness isn't something you can advertise. It's something you repeat every hour, every shift in places no camera visits. Once you stop doing that, the polish on the label starts to mean less than the mold behind the tiles. Still, there's a way forward. For shoppers, it doesn't require fear, only attention. Check the packaging date, not the slogan. Look for batch numbers and recall updates. Ask questions at the counter. If a label sounds too proud to explain itself, turn it over and read the back. Real quality never hides from light. Boar's Head will likely recover. Brands that big usually do. But for those who once bought its name without thinking, the shine may never look quite the same. Because sometimes the hardest thing to clean in a factory is reputation. Still, some illusions don't grow inside walls. They're printed right on the color that sells comfort. 3 Tesco's? Tesco's sliced ham looks gentle pink, polished, predictable. It greets shoppers with a kind of warmth, the familiar comfort of a brand that seems to know what families want. Wiltshire Cured, the label, says 2 words that whisper heritage and care. But behind that soft promise lies one of the coldest systems in modern food production, a process built not for nourishment, but for control. That blush of pink isn't freshness at all. It's formula. Each slice begins in a chilled tank where cuts of pork are tumbled in a brine of water, salt, sugar, phosphates, and sodium nitrite, the same chemical that keeps meat pink even after weeks on a shelf. The mixture locks in moisture, tightens protein fibers, and fixes color so precisely that every batch looks identical. Not too red, not too pale, a visual reassurance calibrated to the decimal. To the untrained eye, it looks like care. In truth, it's choreography. The process allows the company to extend shelf life, reduce waste, and keep packaging uniform across thousands of stores. No gray edges, no variation. Predictability becomes profit. A 2024 study by the Coalition Against Nitrates found that Tesco's own Wiltshire ham contained 33 milligrams of nitrite per kilogram, the highest among all major UK supermarkets. None of it illegal, all of it deliberate. The goal isn't danger, it's durability. Nitrite slows bacterial growth, helps meat survive long distribution chains, and maintains that just cut look days or weeks after leaving the factory. Inside Tesco's chilled warehouses, entire pallets move like clockwork through a color-coded cold chain. Each slab logged, scanned, and sealed at precise humidity and temperature. Workers wear gloves not just for hygiene, but to avoid fingerprints on the film. The illusion of freshness must remain untouchable. Under fluorescent lights, the pink appears almost kind. But the air there is sharp, metallic, lifeless, the kind of cold that hums louder than silence. Every step has an economic reason. A longer shelf life means fewer returns. Uniform hue means fewer customer complaints. Consistent moisture means predictable weight, easier pricing, better margins. Even the hue itself sells. Shoppers instinctively equate pink with safety, gray with spoilage. Color becomes psychology, and psychology becomes sales. The problem isn't that Tesco broke a rule, it's that the rules were written to reward efficiency, not authenticity. Each milligram of nitrite buys time that translates to logistics, inventory, and ultimately profit. Overuse doesn't scream corruption, it whispers success. Health researchers warn that repeated consumption of nitrite-cured meats can form nitrosamines compounds linked by the World Health Organization and the European Food Safety Authority to increased colorectal cancer risk. Not from one sandwich, but from years of believing pink means pure. By design, the system works. The packaging stays bright, the product lasts, the numbers look good. And yet, standing in front of the refrigerated aisle, you can almost feel the temperature behind the promise, the chill of a product made to endure, not to belong. As Dr. Ian Johnson, former senior scientist at the Institute of Food Research, once put it, nitrites make production predictable, but so does dependency. We've built a food system where chemistry manages fear more than freshness. Tesco's warmth is easy to sell. It's tidy, polite, and pink. But when the light hits it just right, you realize that comfort was engineered in a factory that never sleeps. Because warmth sells, and it's the cold that makes it last. For Castlewood Reserve, it used to taste like Sunday, one longtime shopper said. Now it just tastes organized. That quiet line could summarize the whole story of Castlewood Reserve, a brand that promises refinement but delivers routine. Its gold-embossed packaging, its script fonts, its name, that sounds like an estate dinner, all whisper luxury. But open the seal and the illusion fades faster than the scent. There was a time when deli meat meant something else entirely. When the butcher's blade clicked through real texture, when slices came uneven and peppercorns clung to the edges. You'd wrap them in wax paper that held a trace of smoke. The kitchen would fill with the warmth of salt, spice, and patience, the kind of smell that made sandwiches feel like ritual. Back then, flavor wasn't perfect, but it was alive. Every slice had a different story, some too salty, some just right yet, all unmistakably human. Now, perfection has replaced life. Castlewood Reserve looks expensive because it's meant to matte gold label elegant serif letters, thin black border suggesting heritage. The words crafted, carved, slow reserve line the front like badges of authenticity. But behind that vocabulary is the same industrial script that runs nearly every deli factory in America. These meats are tumbled, injected, and cured using standard nitrate and nitrite formulations, the same ones used in mass market lines from Hilshire Oscar Mayer, and dozens more. Because Castlewood is owned by Tyson Foods, the largest processor in the US, its slow roasting happens in steam chambers, not ovens. The temperature is fixed, the humidity automated, the rhythm mechanical. The term reserve doesn't mean aged, it means optimized. Meanwhile, its price per pound is 25 to 40% higher than typical deli meats. Not for better ingredients, but for better design. The difference lives in the font and foil. Reserve sells reassurance to the shopper, who wants to feel discerning, but doesn't have the time to question. Refinement becomes comfort, and comfort becomes business. You can feel that shift even in the texture. The slices are smooth, identical, and nearly scentless, a quiet cold replacing the smoky depth that once defined ham. The edges have no char, the center, no soul. It tastes balanced, yes, but balanced the way bottled water tastes pure, flawless, forgettable. This is the modern trade-off flavor for uniformity, soul for certainty. Castlewood Reserve didn't betray its customers with chemicals or lies. It simply perfected the art of looking better than it tastes. Dr. Ellen Carter, a food ethics researcher at the University of Reading, put it plainly: Reserve doesn't mean heritage anymore, it means algorithmic trust. It tells buyers they've chosen well even when nothing changed inside. Her words echo what the shopper said at the start, only colder. Because the gap between what used to be and what remains isn't just about taste, it's about temperature. The warmth once found in imperfection has been chilled into precision. Maybe flavor didn't fade, maybe we just traded it. For neatness, for convenience, for sandwiches that last longer than memory, and somewhere between crafted and convenient, the truth got sliced too thin. 5. Applegate. Applegate built its reputation on simple promises. No antibiotics, ever familiar farms, pure ingredients. Its label says it all. No added nitrites or nitrates, no preservatives, no nonsense. A neat line, a secure claim. But the truth behind that confidence bends in another direction. Because what Applegate calls no nitrites or nitrates added doesn't mean the chemistry disappeared. It means it came from a different door. In their Black Forest ham, the ingredients list includes pork sea salt and less than 2% of other components. One of them is cultured celery powder. That isn't magic. It's natural nitrate which under bacterial action becomes nitrite. Chemically, the result is identical. The process that prevents spoilage, fixes color, and extends shelf life still happens, it's just renamed. This matters because transparency has become elastic. The system no longer sells food, it sells confidence. In a marketplace obsessed with words like natural, uncured, and clean, Applegate became the poster child for conscience-friendly eating. But behind the green leaf and soft beige packaging lies the same industrial mechanism, curing salts, moisture control, color preservation, and controlled distribution. The difference lives in language, not in process. And that's what makes Applegate the perfect mirror of modern consumerism. Companies today don't just sell flavor, they sell reassurance. They borrow the vocabulary of integrity, the tone of purity, the look of kindness. Every label is a performance choreographed for belief. The battle for attention is no longer fought with ads, but with ethics printed on cardboard. Natural becomes the safest word in the modern diet, a kind of verbal shelter. But in truth, it's an idea managed by marketing, not by farmers. Consumers exhausted by endless ingredients, and recalls lean toward what sounds peaceful. And so purity becomes a product. Morality becomes merchandise. Applegate didn't set out to deceive, it adapted. In a world that rewards imagery over inspection, the company learned how to sound clean faster than it could prove it. It used celery powder to bridge regulation, to win hearts, and to stay inside the comfort zone of conscience-driven shoppers. The science didn't change, the storytelling did. To the wiser shopper, that's the line between awareness and habit. The wise don't buy into despair or paranoia, they simply look closer. They understand that attention itself has become a marketplace, and that silence sometimes is the most expensive thing sold. As food safety consultant Dr. Michael Larson put it, natural nitrites behave the same. We've only changed the story, not the substance. That sentence doesn't accuse, it reveals. Because in the end, Applegate's story isn't about deception. It's about a generation that wanted to eat better and a system that learned how to sell that dream back to them. Maybe purity wasn't lost. Maybe it was just renamed. And even the cleanest label still slices a little illusion with every pack. It's strange, isn't it, how every brand swears it's clean. Every package claims honesty, yet each slice tells the same story of repetition. After walking through these aisles, the shortcuts, the chemicals, the illusions, you start to realize that the problem isn't just the food, it's the language around it. But not all hope is lost. Some makers still hold on to the old rhythm, slow, patient, transparent. They don't advertise purity, they practice it. So now let's step into that quieter aisle where care isn't printed on a label, but built into every cut. Sechs Diestel Family Ranch. After all the noise and gloss of the meat industry, Diestel Family Ranch feels like quiet. No loud banners, no buzzwords, just a hillside in Sonora, California, where the sound of wind through the feed barns replaces the hum of machines. Their turkeys aren't advertised as miracles, they're simply raised the way food once was, slowly, visibly, and without shortcuts. Founded in 1949, the ranch is still family-run. 4 generations later, its principles haven't aged, they've deepened. No antibiotics, no growth hormones, no blind outsourcing. Every flock is raised under humane conditions, fed a clean diet and air-chilled instead of water-processed to preserve texture and flavor. The company doesn't just make claims, it publishes audited welfare and sustainability reports each year for anyone to read. In a market where trust usually comes in all caps, Diestel's confidence comes in silence. They don't need to say real, they just stay real. Open one of their Deli turkey packs and you'll notice the difference immediately. The color is pale, not pinkened by curing agents. The texture isn't slick, it's firm like actual meat. The flavor leans toward gentle salt and clean protein, not the chemical tang that lingers in most supermarket slices. The ingredient list reads like something from another era: turkey, water, salt, honey. Nothing more complicated than honesty. Online, the feedback is strikingly consistent. Clean, not salty like turkey used to taste. Finally, something that doesn't smell like the fridge. The only deli meat I buy for my kids. No big campaigns, just quiet loyalty from people who seem relieved rather than impressed. Unlike most producers, Diestel posts their process in detail from feed sourcing to energy use. Even their compost and water recycling systems are public knowledge. There's a humility in that transparency, a kind of unpolished pride. They don't promise perfection, they simply let their work speak where others market. Still, even honesty has limits. Small-scale operations like Diestel face high costs and narrow margins. Their products aren't everywhere, and when they are, they're not cheap. Some online buyers complain about availability, saying certain cuts disappear for months. Others mention minor inconsistencies between batches. But the brand doesn't hide behind press releases, it responds, explains, and adjusts. That in today's food economy feels almost radical. This is what makes Diestel special, not a spotless halo, but a working conscience. Where larger brands build image systems to manage attention, Diestel builds real systems to manage care. Every extra day spent raising a bird means smaller profit but longer trust. Their scale may be limited, but their clarity isn't. There's also something poetic in their restraint. The ranch doesn't shout about being better or purer. They just keep doing what the others once did before efficiency became religion. It's not nostalgia, it's proof that integrity can coexist with survival. In an age where food has become marketing, Diestel reminds us that quiet can still be powerful. Their turkey isn't revolutionary, it's restorative, a return to normal that now feels extraordinary. Perfection isn't their promise, presence is. And in today's aisle where honesty often needs a headline that's rare enough to be golden, 7 true story foods. Some brands are born clean, others have to earn it. True story. Foods belongs to the second kind. It started not with slogans, but with an apology. A quiet response to an industry that had long confused marketing with morality. The company was founded by former Neiman Ranch team members who wanted to prove that trust could be rebuilt, not rebranded. Their mission wasn't glamorous rebuild supply chains from scratch, verify every farm, and cut the corporate layers that once blurred responsibility. It took years. Now every turkey and pork product is certified humane, antibiotic-free, and fully traceable from pasture to packaging. Labels list real farms, not PR phrases. They even publish carbon and welfare audits not as ads but as open ledgers. At first glance, the packaging looks simple. No gold foil, no dramatic heritage claims, just clean typography and white space. It's the kind of design that invites calm, not hype. But behind that quiet lies a financial risk few brands dare to take. Because honesty costs money. True Story's products are on average 30 to 40% more expensive than big box deli meats. A pound of their ham can hover around $15 while conventional brands sell for $8 or $9. That gap isn't greed, it's the price of a transparent system. Every chicken raised without antibiotics takes longer to grow. Every audit costs time. Every traceable label requires coordination across farmers who refuse to cut corners. The company doesn't hide that cost, it just asks customers to decide whether price or principle matters more. One shopper's online review captured it perfectly. I used to think they were overpriced nonsense. Then I tasted it and checked the farm myself. It's not fancy, it's real. Now I buy less meat but better meat. That turn from skepticism to respect mirrors True Story's own journey. It's the modern cycle of reformed transparency, first ignored, then proven, then trusted. The brand doesn't chase perfection, it just keeps receipts literal and moral. Their deli turkey isn't drenched in salt water, their ham isn't airbrushed pink. The flavor is mild, the texture uneven, sometimes too natural for those used to industrial smoothness. But that imperfection is its signature, a reminder that flavor once belonged to time, not chemistry. Of course, not everyone can afford it. Some reviewers still call the pricing elitist, others wish it were stocked more widely. True Story replies to most of them respectfully, even when the feedback stings. We'd rather earn customers one at a time, they once wrote on their public page, than lose trust all at once. And maybe that's the point. In a marketplace built on shortcuts, they chose the long road back, one receipt, one customer, one reform at a time. Transparency doesn't shout, it documents. And in an industry obsessed with appearance, True Story Foods reminds us that redemption too can be real. As we reach the end of our journey through these brands, one thing becomes clear: the food we put on our tables isn't just about what's in the package. It's about the choices behind the label, the decisions made, the care taken, and the trust earned. The brands that stand out are the ones that have nothing to hide. They don't sell perfection, they simply make food with integrity. And as consumers, we hold the power to support the brands that align with our values, those that choose transparency, sustainability, and true quality over shortcuts and illusions. We all deserve food that nourishes not only our bodies, but our trust. So next time you reach for a pack of deli meat, think about where it comes from and who made it. The right choice is one that doesn't just feed us, but feeds our sense of hope for a better food future.
This video does not promote division within the United States or encourage segregation. All content is presented for the purpose of exploration, analysis, and fostering discussion based on current events, public sentiment, and social trends. We fully respect the United States Constitution and all federal regulations. If today's analysis made you think, drop a comment so we can keep the conversations going. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you will never miss our next independent deep dive.